There should be a management customer marriage, the national negotiation payment, celebration.
Good evening, welcome to Bold Moves Radio. The show is Prudent Woman with myself, Rulani Baloyi. Tonight I have with me Mikateko Mabobo. She's part of us in Prudent Woman. She's in the legal fraternity. She was here some time before talking about the different types of marriages. As we have promised you, our listeners, tonight I bring back Mikateko Mabobo to continue with the series on different marital regimes that we have in the country. Tonight, we're going to be talking about customary marriages. You are welcome, those of you who are watching us on Facebook and YouTube, and those who are listening on Bold Moves Radio. As we indicated, we are trying to migrate from Facebook. So in the near future, we'll always be on YouTube and the Bold Moves Radio streaming platform. So those of you who are still watching us through Facebook, we would like to invite you, go to YouTube, subscribe, and you will find us there. Thank you so much. Mikateko Mabobo, you are welcome. You can greet our audience this evening.
Good evening, Rulani, and good evening to our lovely listeners and viewers. I really appreciate today that I am a guest in this program, and we're going to talk about something that affects each and every one of us, being customary marriages, since we are Black people and we're having our norms and traditions that we adhere to. And thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mikateko. It's very true what you are saying, to say it affects the majority of us, most especially when we're Black people. At our age, probably some of us may have married civil, but most of our parents and our grandparents are still married in customary marriages. And it is at times our responsibility to be able to assist them. So tonight, I'm excited all of you who are listening, I know some of you may be in the very same type of regime, but some of you may still want to enter into customary law. And there's nothing wrong, you know, because I believe customary law is one of the different regimes that we have in the country. So one just needs to be knowledgeable, intentional about the decision that they are making. Maybe to kickstart this talk, if you can tell us, when we talk customary marriage, what are we talking about?
Okay, so remember that in the Republic of South Africa, each and everything that affects human beings, there is a law that is governing that particular issue. And being marriage today that we are going to talk about, there are laws that govern and regulate marriages. I will confine myself for today's topic being customary marriage as to there is a law that governs that, being the recognition of the Customary Marriage Act, number 120 of 1998. And it doesn't mean if you are not a lawyer, you cannot go and open up this particular act. You are allowed to do that. You are allowed to go through the laws that affects you. Therefore, for today's topic, we are going to talk about that particular law. And what is customary marriage? Marriage speaks for itself. Ibukati, it is a marriage. But who is supposed to be entered into a marriage? Not everyone is entitled to get married. The Act says you must be above the age of 18. We will not allow a child who is 17 or 16 to enter into a marriage. However, you must be above the age of 18. And being above the age of 18, you must also consent to enter into that particular marriage. Remember, in customary marriage, we also have this called arranged marriages. That is why you have one of the requirements being consent, meaning the person who's supposed to be entering in that particular marriage should, he or she, consent that I am ready, I am willing, I am not coerced, I'm not under duress, but it is something which I voluntarily want to do because I am ready to get into a marriage relationship with this particular person. Remember also being called customary marriage. It means it affects different cultures. In Limpopo, I can say we have the Xitsonga people, we have those who speak Sepedi, we have those who speak Chivenda, we have our neighbors here at Bulobedu, we have the ones at Sikupune. All these people have got their own customs and traditions that should be adhered to before we say a customary marriage has been concluded, being that in that before you say I am married, there must be these two requirements that I have already mentioned, and there must be a negotiation. Negotiation is not that you are going to sit on a table and start to debate about what. It is two different, let's say two different traditions coming. Let's say Mutsonga going to marry in a Venda tradition. It means these two group of traditions will be seated together and say, in Xitsonga, we do it in this way to say we have concluded a marriage. And then in Chivenda, they will say, we do it in this manner. You are negotiating so that we do not have a culture clash, but we must now embrace these traditions. And once you start to negotiate, it means you will come up with an amount. It is known in our tradition, an amount will be counted in cattle as to how many heads of cattle are you gonna marry our daughter. Then that is where we say, I remember when we pay lobola to one family, we said nine cattle. They said, tie them together. Let's see how we're gonna tie 9 cattle. Meaning they wanted them to be two. Then we said, we can't tie this one. They said, then add another one so that they can move together in twos. And after you have negotiated, after you have paid the cattle, it means there must be a celebration, which shows that after we have negotiated that, me Mutsonga from Guyana going to Mutsonga in Zanin, going to Mutsonga, going to a Venda tradition, that we are now in agreement that we have embraced our traditions together, and now we are one family. There's no one who will say, my tradition is paramount to the other one. That is why we say we negotiate, and then we after we have negotiated, we pay the amount. After we have paid the amount, it means, and now we celebrate. How do we celebrate? It all differs. How we celebrate in the Zulu culture, even before you pay a certain amount, there are certain one is supposed to do. And after you have paid the lohola, they will be exchanging gifts, all these kind of things. It's just to embrace one another's tradition at the end of the day, so that one tradition cannot be looked over, but to say, when we are in this union of a customary marriage, we have accepted one another, not that this other one will be inferior to the other.
Yes, so basically what you are saying, it's customary marriages is recognized mainly by the negotiations that the families come together. And I would like to find out, you know, in today's way of doing things, we tend to, you know, as young people, tend to meet when they are working somewhere far and start a relationship, stay together. So that cannot be recognized as a customary marriage because the parties, the families never came together to negotiate.
Yes, it is not in our tradition to be doing that, and even that family will never recognize that man, even if you can bring him home with you. It will never be recognized until certain requirements have been met by this particular person. And it will differ in traditions as to the practices that one does. Is it allowed now to stay together with this person without informing the elders? It can be done in most of the traditions that these two people are still young, they're still working, they're still gathering enough wealth so that they can start the process, and a family can go and say, we respect that we are not following a proper practice, but they will pay a certain amount to say, if you don't see your child, that child is with us.
This side,
It
yes,
is a tradition. It is a tradition that is followed, but one cannot say that that is a marriage. It is not a marriage. It is one of the practices.
So what must happen? It must follow the customs of the different traditions.
Yes.
And to our viewers, I would like to caution you, due to the engagements of our guest, tonight will only run for 30 minutes. So you should listen attentively. And I will also ask our guests to rush through some of the questions as we ask, because time is not on our side.
I just want to say something in respect of a celebration. You cannot, when we say you celebrate, you must celebrate in terms of the traditions of that particular let's say in Shivenda. It means you are going to celebrate in the Shivenda culture, and if they are bringing in a Makoti wa Mtsonga, these people will, it means they will blend and celebrate by dancing Belani, and the other ones will embrace it by dancing Chikona or Chikombera, just to show the acceptance of one another, not, like I've already mentioned, that not to overlook that other people's practices. Yes.
So what I'm getting from you is customary marriages is true to its name. It has to be according to the customs. It must not deviate and do something else. But tell me, you spoke about the law, the recognition of customary law marriages. And I would like to find out, with this type of marriages, previously, we know our parents used to have this type of marriage, but they did not have to go to Home Affairs to register. With this new law that you are talking about that was passed in 1998, do we have to go and register it with Home Affairs?
Of course, yes. Of course, yes. In the process of negotiating, remember, we were not just negotiating the olden ways where we couldn't read and write. We need to have the lobola pay, the lobola affidavit. And you know, as Black people, I'm so happy that we even understand what an affidavit is all about, because you'll find them writing on the 2nd of October 2020. The Mabobo family accepted the Mashinde family to come and negotiate the marriage of Mikateko to the Mashinde family. And after the negotiations, we have agreed to pay 10 heads of cattle for Mikateko. And who were the main negotiators? They will write from a Mabobo family. It was the aunt, and mentioned the name, and the uncle, they mentioned the name. And still on the other hand, the Mashinde family must write it down to say the uncles and the aunts, and the amount that the cattle must be indicated. And it must be indicated that those cattle, what was the purpose of paying these cattle. And it must be mentioned, it was for the lobola of Mikateko. You cannot come and say you are writing an affidavit where you do not mention that what is the purpose, because one can come. We are living in troubled times. If you don't write that, some people will come and say, they are selling cattle. We were there too because we didn't have enough money. We gave them that money. You must, in that affidavit, indicate the purpose of that negotiation and why. What is it that you were negotiating? You were negotiating to get a bride in that family, and the bride price was this much, and this is how much has been paid. If there's another amount which is remaining, you must put terms that they said they will be coming back after 3 months. And after 3 months, when they go back, it must be indicated they have came to our home on the 2nd of October. Now, on the 2nd of December, we went and paid the remaining price, and we took our bride along with us to Mashimzi family. And what has happened when we get to Mashimzi, the Mabobo family came to our home, and then we started dancing to indicate that indeed we were accepting a bride who came now to be part of the family. And after you have done that, what I don't like about our own people, they now get so much comfortable in that setting that they forget to go and visit Minister Mutswaredi's department, being the Department of Home Affairs, to have that marriage to be registered legally, so that even one day you are faced with problems, you will be able to go to Home Affairs to have a marriage certificate which will indicate that Mikateko came to the Department of Home Affairs with who? With the following people, and also your lobola letter to register their marriage, and they will give you a marriage certificate. It will indicate a customary marriage between this and who, and when was it registered.
So what is important when you go there, you must take along the lobola letter.
Yes, just to, let's say if you do not have enough witnesses, you can take along that document, and you can maybe bring 1 or 2 people to come and confirm them. Just like in a civil marriage, you cannot go to Home Affairs and enter into it without witnesses. Then the lobola letter is also, it's a binding document. I'm telling you, it's the most crucial and the most important document if you want to prove that indeed I was negotiated, I consented, and it was paid, and we celebrated my marriage because they were accepting who I am, and the purpose of celebrating me, it is because I was becoming their bride, and my husband was becoming their groom.
Yes, and you are very right to say we become comfortable once we have that letter, and most of the time, me myself included, you once that you see that book that is being they are recording the proceedings during the lobola, but for some reason you don't even care what happens to that book, and most of the time it's left with grannies, and you never know where it is. Sometimes they pass on, and later as you are saying, you have a problem and you don't know what to do. So tonight, we now know that for once that has happened, you can take that lobola letter, witnesses and your partner, you go and register a customary marriage at Home Affairs. But on that one, I want to find out, can a person, because previously with customary marriages, our parents were living in polygamous marriages. Can a person be able to enter into polygamous marriages even now after the 1998 regime?
Remember, the reason why we have the recognition of customary marriage is we are acknowledging that we are of African descent, and even in the Bible we have people who had more than one wife, but we didn't want to have a situation where everybody can come and claim that they are married to this particular person. And there is a process in respect of the South African law where before you want to enter into a second marriage, the first wife is supposed to agree, to consent in the legal term. The first wife is supposed to consent, but how is consent? You know, we are living in a country where we are having a gender-based violence that for the sake of a safety of a woman, she will end up agreeing or end up consenting that you should marry a second wife. But it will be good to go to the Department of Home Affairs again and say, or to the court to say, here I am willing and consenting that I must have a sister wife. That will be the good thing, so that even if one day you are challenged, then you'll say, I have consented. But if you are made to consent because your husband is a breadwinner and you are under duress to be informed that if you do not consent to have a sister wife, it means I'm going to abandon you. I will not be taking care of you. And that is what a lot of women are struggling with, to say, I consented because I had nowhere to go. I don't have a home anymore. I've been living with this man for years, and when he requested to marry a second wife, I didn't want to, but the circumstances, I had to consent. Then if you don't want to consent, you have a right to say, you can go even to Department of Home Affairs and say, once you recognize this marriage, it is an illegitimate marriage because I never consented to it. But if you feel you need a sister wife, then you can consent to same. And
okay, so
and there is another process where the husband can apply to court and make an affidavit, whereas the wife, you can make a confirmatory affidavit. You could that, yes, I, Mikateko, have consented to have a sister wife. And it will be good even that sister's wife to be mentioned by name, because you will consent only to find a different person is coming to be your sister wife. Yes. Consent that Rulani is coming to join me as a sister wife. Not just to say, I'm consenting for my husband to have a second one. No, you even stipulate whom are you consenting for.
As I indicated, we have time limitation issues today. I would like to advise all our viewers and our listeners, we shall continue on the topic. I see a lot of questions coming through, and I know, having prepared for customary marriages, there's a lot of things that we wish to understand around this, the legalities of this type of a marriage. But
before we take the questions, remember, when you are now accepting or agreeing to have a sister wife must not come and benefit on my sweat, you know, that you find, yes, even if I never worked, but remaining at home, cleaning the house, my husband going out to clean, finding me having a dining room suite, a kitchen, my assets should be listed first. To say, when Rulani came and joined me, Mikateko already had these assets, so that even during the time of division of the estate, one cannot come and claim what I have worked for. She must benefit from what she has worked for, from the time in which she joined me as a sister wife. Then your assets should be listed before the sister wife comes and join you as a sister wife. Yes.
Yes, I would like to advise our listeners and our viewers that we will continue on the topic today. We spoke about the requirements of customary marriages, but I know the most important issue, it's about the estate within customary marriages. And I would like us to continue with the talk. And I see we do not have enough time, but I want to just bring one pressing question that I see. When one is marrying someone who was in customary marriage before, this person was married customarily and now divorced that one. I don't know what type of divorce they need to do. And then now they are entering into another marriage. What are the implications? Can the previous man come in and claim from this new marriage?
I don't understand the question, but let
me try to simplify it. I was married in a customary marriage, and then I divorce. I now go and marry again. Can my ex-husband, Mr. Baloyi, can he come and claim in the new marriage?
No.
More especially in terms of estate.
Remember, marriage is terminated by a divorce or by death. Then it means when you terminate a marriage, it means that you have divorced Mr. Baloyi, meaning immediately if you divorce him and you are married in terms of the customary marriage, your estate will be divided in terms of that law. Therefore, he will have benefited during the division of that estate when you divorce with him. Then when you enter into another marriage, his marriage is terminated. Then what right? He doesn't have any anymore.
So what I'm getting is that the important thing is that the divorce must be final with the previous marriage, and then you enter into another marriage. But I think that will be a topic for next week. I see the time is no longer on our side. I would like to request you, Sesi Mikateko, what is it that you want to leave us with as a nugget for customary marriages? Even as we're going to continue, next week we'll talk on the estate for these customary marriages and its dissolution. How do we now end this type of a marriage? But for now, what is it that you want to leave us with so that we can be thinking about it throughout the week as we prepare for next week?
What I can tell you is with customary marriage is it means you are going to live in accordance with the traditions in terms of a custom, meaning you cannot go and marry Mikateko on a customary recognition of the customary marriage, and you go and have a civil marriage, a common law marriage where it was civil marriage to have a marriage certificate. That marriage certificate must be the same. If you want customary marriage and a sister wife, it means it must be in terms of the recognition of customary marriage. You cannot have two marriages. One wife will be in terms of the customary marriage, the other one be in terms of the civil marriage. We do not do choice asserted. You must choose one. You choose one. Once you say, I want to be in a customary marriage, it means you must adhere to the law of customary marriage. And if you want a second wife, there must be this consent and everything. Once you enter into another marriage, let's say you are married in terms of the customary marriage, and now you meet this clever one who says, let's go to Home Affairs, knowing Mikateko is so comfortable in that marriage. She never registered her marriage. And then you go and sign. Your marriage is invalid. It cannot be enforced. If it's customary, you must all line up customarily. Yes.
Okay.
And if you go for civil, it means that the door is closed. No one is going to come in. It is only customary marriage that says you leave the door opened, and the first one, she's the one who's having the permission to allow all the rest. And you find when it is number 3, Number 3 gets so angry when she's told number 4 is coming. Number 1 is happy. I'm consenting. You see, consenting. Why do you have to close for the others when you find I never close the door?
Because you also came and knock and asked the door to be open, so it must be open for others as well.
Of course. Why not? Why do you get selfish? Why do you have to get selfish? Somebody consented that come in. Why now do you say, I don't want? Open the door. You can, somebody open for you, open for the other one that is coming. But for next week, I'm hoping that I'll have enough time where we're gonna talk more. I love customary marriage, and I see nothing wrong about it as long as we adhere to the law, what the law says, what the practices are saying. If we are following that, we'll never have a problem. And if one says, I have consented, you have consented, but if one says no, it is a no. It is a no. It means if this person is saying no and you feel you want a sister wife to come in, divorce this one. Divorce her because she's not consenting. And the one who's saying no to me, I see nothing wrong for her to approach the court and say, the reasons I want my marriage to be terminated is my husband, I married him in terms of the customary marriage, and I don't want the wife, this sister wife coming to be my sister wife. Therefore, my reasons for divorcing him is because I do not want to consent to this one. You can still do that. Don't stay in a marriage in which it will boil to domestic violence now. It's better to exit before violence starts.
We cannot thank you enough. But what I can tell the prudent women is that today we learned the requirements of a customary marriage and the understanding that it's a customary marriage, which is governed by the customs. There is no way you can say I'm married in customary marriage regime, but you don't want to practice the customs of your tradition. You are saying you are taking that route. And also to understand that when you are in customary marriage, does not mean you must say yes, but you have a right to say no or yes, and you still have the authority. And thank you so much that you told us as well that it's not wrong to marry customarily, but there must be an agreement. The families must come together and agree, negotiate, and follow through in terms of the legal prescripts. Thank you so much. We cannot thank you enough. I would like to thank you, even our listeners, and our apologies. We know you set aside time every Sunday, 6 o'clock until 7 o'clock, you are with us. But tonight, just bear with us. She has other commitments, and we understand the responsibilities that she has are huge. Thank you so much, Mikateko. And before we finish, I would like to thank our executive producer. The show will not come through if Pastor Strike is not here, my spiritual father. And I would also like to thank Nyeleti, my biological daughter. This is the team that makes sure that the show comes to fruition. And I believe you have learned so much tonight. And let us go and continue putting down those questions. Next week, we shall be talking again on customary marriages. Mikateko will be here with us to continue to teach us. Ladies, it is only when we are empowered with knowledge that we can take intentional decisions and not be surprised at the end of the day. But what's more important, with all these things, we are entering into this type of marriages, recording them, because we would like to protect our estates, but mainly not for us, but for our loved ones, who are our children. So it's not good for you to continue and say, I'm waiting for my children, and not set aside time to research on these things, to come and listen to shows like this, to empower yourself so that you take intentional decisions. Thank you very much. We shall meet next week, same time, same place, Bold Moves Radio. The show is Prudent Woman. Have a blessed week ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Streaming 24/7.
Bold Moves Radio.
Bold Moves Radio.